33 years, is that right? We've been married?
Married, yeah. And we dated, 5 years before that, so.
And I was telling in my interview earlier that, we didn't have any money starting off. You and
gosh.
I were just...
We had nothing.
Yeah.
We didn't even have a down payment on our first home.
No, we had...
And somehow you talked them into
we had...
letting us buy it.
We had 100% financing, and there's a funny story there. They didn't put a sprinkler system in, and that was part of the deal. And then when they quoted us on what the sprinkler system would cost, it was like 3 times what it should cost. So I said, well, you can do it, but you need to pay me back, for the difference. So we walked out of there with money in our pocket, and the guy said, that was closing, I said, now explain how this works. We sold you the home, and you're walking out with $2,000 in your pocket. How does that work?
Yeah.
So I'm going to start off asking you questions about where you were born and your childhood, and then we'll go up to present day. So go ahead and tell me where you were born.
Oh, okay. I was born in San Diego, California.
And you still love it, don't you?
I do. I know a lot of people talk about California and that it's a mess now, and it definitely has its issues. It's not the California I knew, but I loved it. It was a great place to grow up. There's always so much to do there, and of course the weather you can't beat. So it was wonderful.
Yeah. And when did you move to Dallas from San Diego? What caused that? What brought you here?
Well, I graduated from high school, a very small town, and nobody really had any money. College wasn't really discussed much, at least with my family, for me. And so my mom wanted me to get into banking like she was. So I went to teller school, went to Bank of America. I was a teller, and I guess just at one point I realized that, I was going to be here forever, and I just wanted to do something different. Mm-hmm. I had the opportunity to drive to Dallas with someone, and I thought, why not? I had no money to get here. I collected things from my parents and sold them at flea markets. That's what they're called there, at least. And to raise some money to hit the road and make it to Dallas.
That's pretty gutsy to make a move like that and not have a job. How long did it take you to find a job?
Right away. I started looking for apartment right away, and realized I liked what they were doing, and I applied with Lincoln Properties and got on, and I showed apartments when I first started.
Mm-hmm. Did you like that?
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it was fun. A little scary.
Right.
I was always very wary, being a female on your own, but it's a fun thing. You meet so many great people, and of course back in that day I was 20 years old, and you knew the village, Lincoln Properties in the 80s. It was just a really fun place to be. So.
Right, all right. And what was your next job after that?
Then after that, I went on to, I was offered a job at a really nice oil company. Mm-hmm. So I started working for them, and I was assistant there for a few years, and really enjoyed the oil and gas business a lot. And then I got another opportunity at an investment oil and gas business, and I went there for a short time and realized it wasn't, their operations wasn't what I was used to or what I wanted. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up at Coho Resources for 15 years, and that was an oil and gas company too. I was just pretty much in charge of, I don't know what you'd call it, administrative assistant executive assistant. I guess I was kind of over the others. I worked for the CEO, board of directors, and it was a great job. Yeah, it was really fun. I met a lot of neat people. Well, we met when I first started working for them, right? I was just a receptionist out front at the Gold Buildings where they filmed JR. Yeah. I remember the day sitting there, and your best friend from college, Teddy, worked next door, and Teddy locked himself out of the office, And so
I
he,
don't remember that.
yes, he did. Everyone was at lunch. He locked himself out. So he
Sounds
sat
like
on my couch. It does sound like Teddy. In the reception area, and we talked for about an hour. He said, you know, I've got a friend that you should meet. So our first date was with Teddy and his wife. And
So blind dates do work.
I guess so. We
Yeah.
went to the old filling station. You remember that? We had went to a movie, and then we went to the filling station and had those hurricanes
Blue drinks.
and nachos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you lived in an apartment there off of Greenville for a long time, I guess.
I did, and then I had the opportunity to move up because the apartment that I lived on in Greenville, if you remember, I did work for the oil company, but I also always worked other jobs in the back. So I would leave my day job, and I was with Sanger Harris for a while. Another time I was with a makeup company. I would do that on the side. And then I ended up with Railhead Restaurant.
Yeah.
Remember the old Railhead, and they had the bands, and I was a cocktail waitress. Yeah. And that was a lot of fun. Through that, I made enough money to move into my own little condo that I really enjoyed a lot over in that area.
You've always been a hard worker, you know? You've never...
Well, you do what you have to do.
Yeah, you've never
right?
had anything given to you, and I felt kind of a little guilty because I came from... middle income family, but I never had the stresses that you had. So I've always been
yeah, when I moved here, I didn't have any support or anything like that. I didn't have parents to fall back on. So it definitely was just you have to survive.
Yeah.
You have to figure out how to survive.
Right.
I had no one. So I remember my first interview with the oil company. A friend's mother let me borrow this beautiful suit from Neiman Marcus. And I can remember the lady interviewing me commenting on this gorgeous suit. And I was thinking, gosh, I hope she doesn't expect me to wear this stuff every day, because after today it will be back to whatever I could afford.
So you remember when we had to make a big decision when you left Coho after you were making a real good salary back then.
And benefits,
right. And we left for me to get started in a whole different, actually we didn't know what we were going to do. Remember we moved to Lucas, and I said, Rhonda, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want to go back in commercial. And those were scary times. But
at first it was great. We kept looking. We had a little one then. He was 1. We found the area of Lucas through the newspaper. You would go up to Luby's and eat lunch, and you're reading this ad and said, look at this on 5 acres in Lucas. It was over on Christian Lane. We were knocking on her door. She wasn't having the open house till the next day, but we knew that was the property for us. Thankfully, we were able to get that property, move out there, and you had a very good deal in commercial. Commercial real estate takes forever to make a deal, but when you do, the checks are certainly nice.
Right.
And this was a particularly good one where you were able to take a year off, and you convinced me to quit my job.
Even though we had some money stockpiled, we had no idea what we were going to do.
No, after a year, it was like, wow, we got to
Yeah.
figure out now. We got to get back to life, and what are we going to do?
Did you ever have doubts that we'd be self-sufficient and not have to worry about paying taxes every year?
Never had a doubt, because you're so tenacious and you set your mind to something. You could see residential real estate out there, and I can remember you going, I can do this. I can do better than this.
Yeah.
It was just putting a flyer in someone's yard back then, and you said, I know I can do this.
Yeah.
And I believed in you, and I knew you'd get it done. And you spent hours back in that office and working away, and
Yeah.
I knew somehow we'd make it. We made a lot of mistakes along the way, but we learned from them.
And you were such a huge help too, because I had to bounce ideas off you. I didn't have really anybody else to talk to. I didn't join a company when I started in residential. I started literally cold turkey. I didn't know where the MLS, how to get to it. I didn't know how to work contracts, and I certainly didn't know how to start marketing, so you and I, we just had to figure things out.
We did.
And find out what worked and what didn't. And that got us to a point where I feel like we were comfortable, but we wanted to go to another level, and we couldn't work any harder. As I said in another interview, there weren't any more hours in the day, and you and I were starting to argue. Did you do that? And I said, Ron, I can't do everything. And then you'd say, well, did you do that? And I'd say,
and then we'd have the baby, and it was just typical life. And we had taken on 5 acres, which was wonderful. We had all the animals I could ever dream of, but our business was growing, and we were starting to feel the strains of it, and we couldn't figure out what to do. Like, how do we make this work? That was a tough time.
Well, let's talk about you've always been an animal lover, and so have I. Tell me where that came from. What was your pets?
Actually, my father, he loved animals. Could be a spider. He could wake me up in the middle of the night to bring me out to look at this incredible spider making a web. We would take on every stray. My father grew up extremely poor, and so the only pet he ever had was a wild squirrel that he brought into his home. So he always had that love of animals. I definitely got that from him. Mm-hmm. So growing up, oh my gosh, I had everything: turtles, birds, cats, dogs, whatever I could bring into the home, I did. So.
And I know you had cats, because I guess you had to, being in an apartment. You couldn't really take care of dogs in an apartment.
I worked too much,
right.
Yes.
But you've kind of gravitated toward dogs. I know you'd love a cat, but you've kind of gravitated towards dogs because they fit our lifestyle a lot.
Well, we had cats, if you remember it. Barn Kitty, when we had the barn, and 5 acres on Christian. We had 2 cats we brought from the city, and we loved our cats. But our son became allergic to them. And I can remember when Kitty passed, you said, no more cats.
Yeah, we just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, we couldn't.
Put him through that.
But we had a lot of dogs. We had pet pigs. We had horses. Remember?
Yeah.
We had a lot going on.
We had as many as 6 dogs at a time.
Yeah.
And those were great times living on Christian Lane, weren't they?
They were.
We had this 100-year-old barn that we'd go up and feed the horses, and then the pigs would come, waddling up the driveway.
Oh, and Porky, he was very demanding. He'd try to break in the back door and come into the house. Do you remember that? Yeah. It was dinner time. He was coming in no matter what.
Yeah, so. We'll always have such fond memories of that place.
Yeah.
And then we moved over to really not maybe a mile away, and we did that to get him to be around kids. And
well, our business was kind of getting away from us. We had more business than we knew what to do with at the time. So 5 acres was becoming a lot for us at the time. And then there weren't any kids for our son. And at that time he was about 10. And he could bring kids over from school, but it wasn't quite the same. And you got a listing call for a house right up the street, and you knew that neighborhood had a lot of kids.
Right.
And so we went ahead and bought it. Or you and Jason ran over there and said, we've bought a house, basically. I didn't know. You said you might run over there and see if you like it, but by that time you guys had decided it fit our needs, right? So we went over there, and as we were moving in, if you can remember, we had a boy his age knocking on the door, and then there was 2 more down the street, and the whole neighborhood at that time was full of boys around that age, so it was priceless.
We've got great memories of Lucas, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
You see us staying here for, we've talked about moving, maybe going down to the hill country or moving away. Do you see that happening, or think we'll be here?
I don't know. I just want a one story, so if anybody has a one story that backs up to a green belt or something, what everybody wants, you can't find right now. I would love to have a one story, but we could be in our home for the rest of our lives. That would not surprise me. We love our neighborhood and our neighbors, and really so I don't know. Who knows what the future holds?
Your family's kind of dwindled down too. Your mom and dad have both died, or your stepmom.
She just passed, recently. Yeah. And Dad passed away, and now I do have a birth mother, but I didn't grow up with my birth mother, as you know. So yeah.
And you got Karen.
Yes.
Who you grew up
Oh,
with
my
too.
stepsister that is my sister. I love her to
Yeah,
death, but
exactly.
she decided to move to Kauai, so I don't have anyone close. No,
Yeah.
I have your family, your sister Patsy, which
Yeah.
is like my sister, and
Yeah, you
they're all
really-
up in Honey
yeah.
Grove.
Our entire family just loved you as soon as they met you, and it was such a, we had, you know, it was tough to talk about. We had such a great relationship between everybody, and then to kind of watch them one at a time go, it's a very sobering, and it just makes you appreciate every day you've got with everybody in your family. And I think we do. I think we take advantage of it.
We do.
We don't travel a
We
lot.
went through traumatic times back then with the accident,
Yeah.
and then your mother getting the brain tumor, and it all hit at once. We felt like we were living in another world, and how could we ever be happy
Yeah.
again?
Yeah.
And we weren't for that first year, but you eventually come out of it.
You know, we've got a little tight family unit. It's
We
just
do.
me, you, Jason, our dogs, and I guess our two sugar gliders.
Yeah, we have 2 sugar gliders too.
That's about it. We don't travel
Zeus
much.
and Lucy, yeah. And no, it's nice.
Kind of homebodies.
We have in common our love for animals, our dogs, rescue dogs, only rescue dogs. That's our
And you've
passion.
placed a lot of rescue dogs too, haven't you?
I have out in the Lovejoy area and surrounding areas. I used to take in strays a lot. On Christian, we ended up with a lot of strays. And then I've adopted out a lot, and I have a lot of people that will come to me when they're looking for a dog, and I try to help them. And
Yeah.
when I can. So I'm very connected with a lot of rescues, and that's my passion.
Yeah.
My love for
It
animals.
is, right. And you still do a lot of work for us in the background, but it's not like, it's like if something comes up, we think, uh-oh, we got to get on this real quickly. We usually go to you because you can pick up and start working on it right away.
Well, the nice thing is through all those years, I ended up having every role in the
Yeah,
company
you have
at
to
one
learn it all.
point, right? And then I stepped into the marketing side that I loved.
Yeah.
But now we have people helping us, so we're at a nice point where I can almost work as much or as little as I want, and I'm enjoying being at home more and doing that and rescue stuff.
Well, Rhonda, this wasn't so bad, was it?
No, it was more
I told her I wouldn't make it too tough. on her.
painful. I thought it was going to be a lot more painful than it was. So yeah, it was like pulling teeth to get me to do this.
Yeah,
so.
you weren't real happy about it. You wanted someone else to interview besides me, but I figured I could ask a lot more questions.
Oh
knowing-
no, it wasn't that. It's just it's not fun to see yourself on film, and
Yeah.
especially you get older. It's like don't no cameras, no film. So,
Okay, well, we'll do another one of these in a couple of years. 2 or 3 years, we may be out of the business.
we could
For all
be.
I know, you know, we're kind of we got to start winding it down sometime. I still love what I do.
Well, I think we're workers, and when we've tried to step out, then we miss working. I think
Yeah.
we'll always do something.
Yeah.
You know, we enjoy having some work to do. But we are in a position now with the company and with Aaron that when we're ready, we can step back,
Right.
take a big step back.
Right.
So
Okay, well, thank you, and I love you.
I love you too.
Bye.
Bye.